Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Jahari. I'm a registered social worker here in Toronto. It is mid-August 2020. This is the 7th video of my relationship series, and in this video I'm going to talk about boundaries in marriage specifically, based on this book by Cloud and Townsend called Boundaries in Marriage: Understanding the Choices That Make or Break Loving Relationships. As a couples counselor specializing in premarital counseling, I love talking about relationship resources and tools. So in previous weeks in this relationship series, I spoke about communication, conflict resolution, keeping the intimacy alive, the 5 love languages, what boundaries are, so defining what they are, personal boundaries and boundaries with in-laws. And then today I'm going to be talking about boundaries in marriage specifically in that marital relationship. But please feel free to check out those previous videos if you haven't already. In the upcoming weeks, I'll be covering adult attachment, how to manage inevitable struggles in your relationship, and personality differences. So let's dive into boundaries in marriage. So this vlog, again, is based on the Cloud and Townsend book, Boundaries in Marriage: Understanding the Choices That Make or Break Loving Relationships. So last week was based on the original book, Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend, and I enjoyed it so much that I ended up buying their book that's specifically on marriage. So here's what I got from it based on just the first 2 parts of the book. There's 4 parts, and this is based on the first 2 parts of the book. So the first part is understanding boundaries, and then the second part is building boundaries in marriage. And if you wanted to read the book, the third part is on resolving conflict in marriage, and then the 4th part is misunderstanding boundaries in marriage. So you can feel free to check that out. I won't be doing a blog on that because this is already my 3rd blog on boundaries, and I want to be able to cover the other topics for this relationship series as well. But after hearing this and reading this blog and hearing about the first 2 parts of this book, if you really want me to do the last 2 parts of this book, then just let me know. Send me an email, and then I'll do another video especially for you to be able to cover it. So just let me know. Let me know if it's something that you'd like me to do. Okay. So Cloud and Townsend write that major boundary conflicts in marriage are when one person crosses the line of responsibility and respect with another. So that's from page 8. Cloud and Townsend describe 3 aspects of marriage, the triangle of boundaries. So these include freedom, responsibility, and love. So it's the triangle of boundaries in a marriage: freedom, responsibility, and love. So although unconditional love is at the heart of marriage, it's not enough. Marriage also needs freedom and responsibility. So freedom in marriage is having that ability to disagree, to be able to say no, to respond, and to love the other person. Responsibility involves taking ownership for one's own issues and do what's best for the marital union. So in marriage, you have to figure out where you end and the next partner begins, where your partner begins. So when I work with my couples, I encourage them to be intentional about having me time and we time. So don't lose sight of your own personal interests and activities, but aim at a good balance of sharing time together with shared interests as well. So it's important to focus on your own issues before you criticize or pick on your partner's issues. Taking the plank out of your own eye first and taking ownership for yourself helps the other person to then take ownership for themselves and build that empathy for the other person by understanding your role in whatever issues that you might face as a couple. And so you can ask questions like, tell me what I did to hurt you. That's from page 67. Or what do you see me doing that hurts or bothers you? That's from page 69. So So really soliciting that feedback from your partner to see and understand what impact you are having on the relationship or on your partner, and how you can do things better. And guess what? When you take that ownership of what can you do better, and asking yourself and asking your partner, what can I do better, then that not only improves yourself as a person and matures you as a person, as a human being, but it also models for them and encourages them to do the same. So creating an environment where both parties can have the freedom to choose and then to grow. And it is, I know Cloud and Townsend talk about that quite a bit in terms of making that choice. You can give your partner these options of, this is where I draw the line, and you can choose to cross that line or not. But if you choose to cross that line, then these are going to be the consequences. So really being clear about that, and making it known what the consequence of that would be. Like last week, for example, I gave the example of, if your partner is abusing alcohol, let's say, then you can let them know that you are not going to put up with that behavior anymore. And if the person chooses to drink, that's their choice. But the consequence of that is that I'm going to go spend the night at my sister's house if you're going to be doing that. So giving the other person that freedom to choose. And then to grow as a result of making that choice, being able to experience the consequences of it, and understanding that, and then growing as a result, and potentially making different choices next time. So be open with each other, be honest with each other, be vulnerable with each other, be emotionally present, and say no to your tendency to avoid relationships. So if you have a tendency to hide away and withdraw, taking a stand against that and that tendency, if you want to achieve that authentic closeness in your marriage, in your relationship. So if your partner tends to nag on you, taking a stand and gently and lovingly let them know that that kind of behavior doesn't help, and then tell them what you do want instead. Tender words, loving words, encouragement, support, so that you can be able to share it as what you need out of the relationship, and what would be beneficial. So tell them what you want instead. Be very clear and make your boundaries known. So let go as well. Nobody is perfect, so let go and forgive each other for mistakes or behaviors that were less than favorable, and accept differences without judgment, and being sure to respect each other's no. So if your partner says like, no, I'm not really comfortable with that, or no, I'd rather not do that, respecting that other person's no without making them feel guilty or putting them through the ringer, or saying, oh, you should have done that. And so just respecting the other person's no, and letting them grow as a result of that. So again, taking responsibility for your own feelings. And my favorite part of this book so far, again, I have not read parts 3 and 4 as yet, but just this is based on parts 1 and 2. My favorite part of this book so far is where Cloud and Townsend talk about two-ness on page 86. So they say a complete person is a mature person who's able to give love and receive love, be independent and self-sufficient, live out values honestly, be responsible, have self-confidence, deal with problems and failures, live out their talent, and have a life. So those are aspects of a mature person. So in a marriage, it's complete when two people come together who are already complete individuals and mature individuals on their own. So when those two people come together, then that's when a marriage itself can be enriched and fulfilled and loving and respectful and fulfilling. So marriage is strained, though, when two people come together who are in some way incomplete on their own. If one person or both of the people are incomplete on their own. So if they don't have that ability to love and receive love, to give love and receive love, if they don't have that sense of independence and self-sufficiency, if they don't know how to live out values honestly, if they are not responsible, if they lack self-confidence, if they're not able to deal with problems and failures, if they're not utilizing their talents that God has given them, if they don't have their own life, their own focus, their own passion, so if there's two people who come together who are in some way incomplete on their own, that's when there becomes a strain on the marriage in some way, in some capacity. So that movie, Jerry Maguire, they had it all wrong when he says that famous line, "You complete me." It should never be a situation where you're looking to the other person to complete you. You should be a complete, mature person already on your own, and then that's when you bring value into the partnership, and both mature people together are further enriched with that experience of being together in a way that they wouldn't be enriched independently, but they still have that sense of maturity independently, but then together it's further enriched. So before entering into a union, it's ideal to already be a mature and complete person on your own, and not look to the other person to complete you, per se. So marriage is not meant to be a place where one gets completed as a person. Rather, it's a place for complete individuals to come together to enrich each other's lives and build a sense of we-ness that is better than either person on their own. They can complement each other by bringing in their different perspectives, different personalities, different talents, different skills, different experiences, different gifts into the partnership, so they can complement each other. But it's not the healthiest way to complete each other. I hope that makes sense. But so that's from page 86 in the book. If you wanted to read more on that, I thought it was a really great way to kind of encapsulate that concept, the way that they wrote about it. So marriage takes work, and it involves cultivating 6 core marriage values. So I'm going to go over the 6 values here. So it's important then for the couple to take a stand against anything that would stand against these values. So being sure to magnify these 6 values in your marriage. So here they are. So number 1 is love of God. I know this might not apply to you if you're not necessarily religious, but if you believe in some kind of higher power, then putting Him first above all else brings all the other priorities in line. So it helps to have God as a kind of that North Star, that guiding light to guide and lead you and form the foundation of your marital relationship. So everything else then flows out of that love for God as you trust in Him and have faith in Him. So that's the first one, is love of God. The second one is love of your spouse. So Cloud and Townsend talk about agape love, which is the kind of love that is concerned for the welfare of your partner. So we are to love each other like we love ourselves. So this means showing empathy for our partner and thinking of how to make their life better in some way, being committed to them through thick and thin, continuing to work hard to express love even after decades have passed, because it does take that diligence, that continual work, and wanting the best for them, even at times when they might not necessarily see that it is the best for them, but knowing that that you have their best interests in mind and wanting the best for them, even if they don't necessarily see that at the time. So for example, an example of that might be sometimes a partner who has an addiction issue might not see how that's impacting on other people at the time. They might not realize just how significant it is, and what's good for them at that point in time. So love of God, love of your spouse. Third one is honesty. So it's important to always be honest with each other about everything, including how you feel, disappointments, desires, likes, dislikes, hurts, anger, sex, sins, failures, needs, and vulnerabilities. And every time I mention vulnerabilities, I always think of Brené Brown and all of the work that she's done on bringing that to light in terms of shame and blame and being vulnerable and being in the arena. Marriage really does take that effort to be open and honest with each other and take those risks of being vulnerable emotionally with each other, which isn't always easy. It does take that trust and that effort. So it's not always easy, but it is necessary to experience that true intimacy in the relationship and true partnership. So using your discernment and grace to know when the best timing is, not to be blunt about things, but using your discretion about how to word things, what the best timing is of how to share something that might be on your heart, using I statements so that it's coming from a place of sharing your emotion without the other person maybe getting defensive. So being able to use your discretion and discernment in terms of the timing and what's the best way to phrase things, but really important to be honest. So love of God, love of your spouse, being honest. Fourth one is faithfulness. So being faithful in marriage, it does not only mean being physically faithful, but it also means being emotionally faithful as well. And some people justify, nothing happened with that person, but if there's that sharing of intimate details with someone else aside from your partner, especially if it's about the partner, then it's dangerous territory. It really, really is very dangerous territory. So be cautious of people or things that can draw your attention away from your partner. So that could be like a work crush. It could even be a hobby, something that is just distracting your attention away. It could be a hobby or an addiction that is drawing your attention away from your partner. So being a faithful spouse means being a person who can be trusted, can be depended upon, can be believed in, and one in whom you can rest and feel assured that they're there for you and they're there for you no matter what. So that's faithfulness. So love of God, love of your spouse, honesty, faithfulness. Fifth one is compassion and forgiveness. So we all make mistakes. We're all human. We're all sinners. And when we do, just take ownership of those mistakes and apologize for them, make amends, be genuine about that as well. People know if it's not a genuine apology. So really taking that ownership for it and saying, you know what, I made a big mistake there and I'm really sorry and I shouldn't have done that. And will you forgive me, please? I made a mistake. So being genuine about it. And when your partner does mess up and they do take ownership for it, show them some grace and forgive them. Let them know that it's okay. That, yeah, you might not forget about it, but you can let go and forgive them and move on and be able to recognize that you're not perfect either. And so being able to forgive each other and be tender of heart with each other. So that's number 5. So we have love of God, love of your spouse, honesty, faithfulness, compassion and forgiveness. And then the last one is holiness. So holy marriage is not just one based on religion, it's one based on a few things. So confession and ownership of the problems of each individual. So again, going back to, this is my role in this is my responsibility in this. This part of our issue resides with me, and this is how I contribute to this problem. So confession and ownership of the problems in each individual, a relentless drive towards growth and development. So always wanting to improve, get better, mature as a person, as an individual. And a giving up of everything that gets in the way of love. So again, could be that hobby or addiction, or talking with that cute girl from work. So giving up those things that get in the way of your love with your spouse, with your attention to that spouse, and a surrendering of everything that gets in the way of truth. So if there's something that you are harboring, or not harboring, but hiding from your partner, could be a porn addiction or gambling problem, or some debt that you haven't told your partner about and you're hiding from them, it just erodes the trust in the relationship. And oftentimes it's not so much the thing that's being lied about, it's the act of lying itself that is so hurtful. Like oftentimes partners are understanding and supportive and are there for you if you just fess up and tell them the truth of what's really going on. Because the actual lying part about it is more harmful than helpful. So surrendering of everything that gets in the way of the truth, and a purity of heart where nothing toxic is allowed to grow. So having that softness, that fondness of heart for your other partner, so that is, having that grace towards them, that empathy towards them, forgiving them, so that softness of heart towards them. So striving for all these things, all these aspects of being holy, that holiness, striving for yourself to achieve that as a person, will not only help yourself, but it helps the marital relationship to grow and to become stronger. So deep passion then flows from this sense of purity and honesty and faithfulness and trustworthiness. So again, those 6 aspects of values in a marriage that Cloud and Townsend talk about in their book are love of God, love of spouse, honesty, faithfulness, compassion and forgiveness, and holiness. So in summary, just know in the marriage, to be able to create boundaries in marriage, know where you draw the line, let your partner know what that line is, let them know the consequences of crossing that line, and give them the freedom to choose their behavior, knowing the consequences of their actions. And also, at the same time, taking responsibility for your own stuff, and let your partner take responsibility for their own stuff. So work on being your own complete and whole you, which will then fulfill the marriage further. And your relationship will be stronger and more healthy, more robust, more fulfilled as a result. And exercise those 6 core marriage values: love of God, love of spouse, be honest, be faithful, show compassion and forgiveness, and strive towards holiness. So I hope this was helpful. In the next video, I'll be covering adult attachment and building that sense of security with your partner. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any requests for other videos on relationships or personal wellness, please email me directly, and my email can be found on my website. And feel free to like or follow or subscribe or retweet or share depending on which platform that you might be seeing this on. Just be aware of confidentiality risks given that this is a public platform. So thank you so much, and God bless, and be well. Thank you.